The Whisper of Doom. The vast reaches of space held many secrets, but the galactic hegemony prided itself on uncovering them all. For 3,000 years, the coalition of 17 advanced species had dominated the known galaxy, their technology unmatched, their military might unchallenged. Their massive ships traversed the stars with arrogant ease, and their scientists catalogued worlds with methodical precision. High Commander HFY stood on the bridge of the hegemony flagship Eternal Dominion. His 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the holographic display before him. His scaled skin reflected the blue light of the projection, casting eerie shadows across his face. The map showed a small, unremarkable solar system at the edge of explored space. "What exactly am I looking at, Science Officer?" HFY asked, his voice carrying the distinctive harmonic overtones of the HFY race. Science Officer Mira Jix, a slender Cephrian with translucent skin that revealed the complex network of bioluminescent veins beneath, gestured to the third planet from the star. "This system was charted centuries ago, High Commander. The dominant species was deemed primitive, barely capable of reaching their own moon. We classified them as pre-integration and scheduled them for monitoring every 50 cycles." HFY clicked his mandibles impatiently. "I'm familiar with standard protocol, Officer. What has changed?" "That's just it, sir," Mira said, her skin pulsing with nervous blue light. "Nothing has changed, and that's impossible." The High Commander's crest rose slightly in irritation. "Explain." "Our long-range scanners detect no technological advancement, no orbital structures, no evidence of interplanetary travel. Yet," she hesitated, "our probes have been disappearing. 17 probes over the last 3 cycles, all without transmitting distress signals." HFY studied the hologram more carefully now. The planet looked utterly ordinary. Blue oceans, green and brown landmasses, white cloud formations. Earth, they called it. "Perhaps a natural phenomenon," he suggested. "We considered that," Mira replied. "But yesterday, something new appeared." She manipulated the console, and the hologram zoomed out to show the edge of the system. There, barely visible against the void, was a distortion. "What am I looking at?" HFY demanded. "We don't know," Mira admitted. "It registers on our sensors as nothing. But it's clearly something because it's blocking the stars behind it." The High Commander felt a strange sensation ripple through his spine, something he hadn't experienced in centuries. Unease. "Dispatch Commander Lyrax and the Vigilant Truth," he ordered after a moment. "Full defensive capability, but no aggressive posture. If these humans have developed something new, I want to know what it is." Commander Lyrax was not pleased with his assignment. At 742 cycles old, he was in the prime of his military career, a decorated veteran of the Orion conflicts. Investigating primitive worlds was beneath him. "Approaching Earth system, Commander," his navigation officer reported. Lyrax nodded, his cybernetically enhanced eyes scanning the tactical displays. His ship, the Vigilant Truth, was a top-tier hegemony cruiser, equipped with the latest propulsion, defensive, and weapon systems. A single ship like this could subjugate an entire pre-integration world if necessary. "Initiate standard approach protocol," he ordered. "Full sensor sweep, passive scan only." The Vigilant Truth glided silently into the outer reaches of the Earth system, its advanced stealth systems rendering it virtually invisible to primitive detection methods. Lyrax expected to find a planet of simple beings, perhaps just beginning to explore their own system with crude rockets. What he found instead made no sense. "Commander," the sensor officer called, confusion evident in her voice. "I'm detecting nothing." Lyrax turned. "Clarify." "The planet shows normal life signs, normal geological activity, normal everything for a living world. But I detect no artificial satellites, no space stations, no transmissions, no evidence of technological civilization whatsoever." Lyrax frowned, his brow ridges furrowing. "That's impossible. Even the preliminary survey 3 centuries ago detected primitive radio broadcasts. Nevertheless, sir, I detect nothing. Lyrax paced the command deck, his intuition, honed through centuries of conflict, screaming that something was wrong. Take us closer. Maintain passive scans. As the vigilant Truth cruised past the gas giant humans called Jupiter, the silence became even more pronounced. No transmissions, no propulsion signatures, nothing to indicate an advanced civilization. This doesn't make sense, Lyrax muttered. A species doesn't simply regress technologically. Even if they suffered some catastrophe, there would be evidence. Commander. The tactical officer's voice was sharp with alarm. Energy spike. Lyrax spun around. Source. Unknown. It's everywhere. Suddenly, the ship's sensors flared with warnings. A massive energy field had appeared around the vigilant Truth, seemingly from nowhere. It wasn't a weapon. At least not one that Lyrax recognized. There was no heat, no radiation, no kinetic impact. Just silence. One by one, the ship's systems began to fail. Propulsion, communications, weapons, all went dark. Even the backup systems remained unresponsive. Emergency Protocol Alpha, Lyrax shouted, but he knew it was futile. Whatever was happening, it was beyond anything in the hegemony's experience. The view screen flickered, then stabilized, showing an image that sent a chill through Lyrax's warrior heart. A vessel, if it could be called that, had appeared before them. It had no visible propulsion system, no weapon ports, no communication arrays. It was simply there, sleek, black, and utterly silent. Then, for the first time, a transmission reached them, not through their advanced communication systems, but through an ancient radio frequency that hadn't been used in millennia. Hegemony vessel, a calm voice spoke in perfect exathori. You have entered restricted space. You will power down and await further instructions. Lyrax, for the first time in his long career, felt true fear. How did these humans know who they were? How did they speak the High Commander's language? And most importantly, how had they disabled a top-tier hegemony warship without firing a single shot? Identify yourself, he demanded, fighting to keep his voice steady. There was a pause then. We are Earth Defense. You may call this technology silent thunder. No further communication is necessary. You are being boarded. Before Lyrax could respond, the impossible happened. Figures materialized on the bridge. Humans, wearing simple gray uniforms with no insignia. They carried no visible weapons, yet the crew of the Vigilant Truth found themselves unable to move, frozen in place by some unseen force. One human stepped forward, a tall female with dark skin and striking amber eyes. Commander Lyrax, she said, her voice the same one that had come over the transmission. I am Captain Nora Chen of Earth Defense Force. Your ship and crew will be unharmed, but you will be coming with us. How? Lyrax began, struggling against his invisible bonds. How is this possible? Your species was primitive. You had barely reached your moon. Captain Chen's expression remained neutral. The hegemony's arrogance is its greatest weakness. Did it never occur to your leaders that a species might choose isolation? That we might purposely hide our advancement? Lyrax's mind reeled. It was unthinkable. The hegemony surveillance was absolute. No species could develop in secret, not for centuries. Why? He managed to ask. Chen's eyes hardened. Because we watched. We studied. We learned what happens to worlds that join your hegemony. Integration, you call it. We call it subjugation. She gestured, and Lyrax found himself moving against his will, walking toward the humans. For 300 years, we've prepared. Chen continued as they led him off the bridge. We created technology that works on principles your scientists haven't even discovered. We built defenses your weapons cannot penetrate. And we did it all in silence, hidden behind a veil your sensors couldn't detect. As they reached what appeared to be a portal of some kind, a tear in the fabric of space itself. Chen paused and looked back at the paralyzed crew. Your ship will be released once we've departed. You will return to your high command with a message. Earth is off limits. Any further incursion into our system will be met with the full force of silent thunder. Lyrax, despite his fear, felt a soldier's curiosity. What is silent thunder? Chen smiled for the first time. A cold, dangerous expression. It's what happens when a species is left alone to develop without interference, without the stifling control of your hegemony. It's humanity's answer to the stars. She pushed him through the portal, and Lyrax experienced a sensation unlike anything in his 7 centuries of life, as if he were everywhere and nowhere at once. His very atoms stretched across infinity before snapping back together. When his senses returned, he stood in a vast chamber unlike any hegemony architecture. The walls seemed to shift and flow, as if the very structure was alive. Through massive windows, he could see Earth below, beautiful, blue, and bristling with power that had been invisible to the hegemony's most advanced sensors. "Welcome to Watchtower Alpha, Commander," Chen said. "One of thousands of defensive platforms we've built throughout our system, completely undetectable until they choose to reveal themselves." Lyrax finally understood the true meaning of the message that had triggered this mission. A silent monster from Earth had arrived, and the galactic hegemony, for the first time in its 3,000-year history, faced an enemy it could neither comprehend nor defeat, and this was only the beginning. The storm breaks. The grand chamber of the Hegemony Council was in chaos. The 17 representatives of the ruling species had abandoned all pretense of decorum, their voices rising in a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and harmonic tones that the chamber's translation system struggled to process. High Commander Zeth Val stood silently at the center of the storm, the recorded testimony of Commander Lyrax playing behind him in a continuous loop. The footage showed the human vessel, if it could be called such, materializing from nowhere, the impossible boarding, and the chilling message from the human captain. Silence. The booming voice of Grand Arbiter Klovesh cut through the noise. The ancient Dracary's crystalline body pulsed with angry red light as he rose from his seat. "This bickering solves nothing. High Commander, explain how this embarrassment was allowed to happen." Zethval's crest flattened against his skull in a gesture of respect that hid his irritation. "Grand Arbiter, the humans have developed technology that operates on principles unknown to us. Our sensors detected nothing because there was nothing to detect. At least, nothing that conforms to our understanding of physics." "Impossible," hissed Representative 6 of the Mavericks Collective, her serpentine form coiling tightly in agitation. "No pre-integration species could advance so rapidly without detection. We have monitored every transmission from that world for centuries. Every transmission they allowed us to detect," Zethval corrected. "Science Division now believes the humans have been deliberately projecting a false image, feeding us exactly what we expected to see." A murmur swept through the chamber. The concept was almost unthinkable to the hegemony's leaders. Their dominion was built on absolute information control and technological superiority. The idea that a single species could not only hide from them but develop technology beyond their understanding threatened the very foundations of their power. "What do we know of this silent thunder?" asked Representative Thelonia of the Quantum Synod, her voice a melodious sequence of tones. Zethval accessed his neural interface, projecting a series of images and data streams into the chamber's shared consciousness. "Very little. Our preliminary analysis suggests it may be a form of zero-point energy manipulation combined with quantum entanglement on a macro scale. In effect, it allows the humans to manipulate fundamental forces without conventional energy signatures." "Can it be countered?" The question came from Marshal Drawn, the hegemony's supreme military commander, his massive armored form leaning forward with intense interest. "Unknown," Zethval admitted. "We would need to study it further, but the humans have made it clear that any additional incursion into their system will be considered hostile action." Grand Arbiter Klovesh's crystalline structure darkened to a deep purple. This is unacceptable. No species defies the hegemony. No species hides from us. No species threatens us. We must respond with overwhelming force. Zethval hesitated. Grand Arbiter, with respect, we don't know the full extent of their capabilities. Commander Lyrax's ship was completely neutralized without any detectable weapon being fired. One ship, Marshal Drawn rumbled dismissively. I command 10,000. If these humans have some trick, let them try it against the full might of the hegemony fleet. No defense can stand against such numbers. The chamber erupted in sounds of agreement. The hegemony had faced challenges before: rebellions, resistance movements, even the occasional technological surprise. But always, their overwhelming numbers and combined technological might had prevailed. Only Zethval remained silent, his warrior's instinct warning him that this time might be different. Dr. Ilara Voss watched the Hegemony Council's proceedings with detached interest. The Quantum Observatory allowed Earth Defense to monitor any communication, any meeting, any thought process that utilized conventional energy, which, fortunately for humanity, included all hegemony technology. At 42, Voss was considered young to hold her position as director of Earth Defense Scientific Division, but no one questioned her authority. Her breakthrough understanding of quantum field manipulation had been the foundation of silent thunder technology, transforming humanity's defensive capabilities and ensuring their continued independence. They're going to attack, she observed quietly to the man standing beside her. Fleet Admiral James Chen, father of Captain Nora Chen, who had retrieved Commander Lyrax, nodded grimly. As expected, the hegemony has never tolerated challenges to its authority. How many ships? Their marshal is calling for 10,000, Chen replied. Though that's likely posturing. Our intelligence suggests they can field perhaps 6,000 without compromising their control over subjugated worlds. Voss brushed a strand of silver-streaked dark hair from her face, her expression contemplative. Will Thunderchill be ready in time? Chen's weathered face showed a hint of pride. The prototype is fully operational. The production models are at 87% completion. If the hegemony follows standard protocol, we have approximately 21 days before their fleet arrives. And if they don't follow protocol, then we'll find out exactly how well Silent Thunder performs against a real invasion force, Chen said grimly. Voss turned her attention back to the quantum display, where the hegemony leaders continued their war planning, blissfully unaware that every word, every strategy, every thought was being monitored by the very prey they sought to subjugate. What about Commander Lyrax? She asked. Captain Chen reports he's been cooperative, if somewhat shocked. The cultural integration team believes he may be valuable. His military experience gives him a unique perspective on hegemony weaknesses. Voss nodded thoughtfully. Have him brought to me. I want to understand how a species that has dominated space for 3,000 years can be so blind to its own limitations. Commander Lyrax had never felt so humbled. For 7 days, he had been escorted through Earth's defenses. Massive orbital platforms invisible to hegemony sensors, fleets of ships that seemed to phase in and out of reality, and weapons systems unlike anything he had encountered in centuries of warfare. Now he stood in a laboratory deep beneath Earth's surface, watching as Dr. Ilara Voss manipulated what appeared to be pure energy with her bare hands. Your people call it zero-point energy, she explained, shaping the shimmering field between her palms. But that's a fundamental misunderstanding. There is no 0 point, only different states of quantum reality. Lyrax watched, fascinated despite himself. How did you discover this? Your species was barely nuclear capable when we first surveyed your world. Voss smiled thinly. We've always been good at killing each other, Commander. World War II should have exterminated us. Instead, it united us. When the dust settled, humanity made a choice. We would advance in absolute secrecy, developing technology that couldn't be detected by conventional means. But why? Lyrax asked. The hegemony brings stability, shared knowledge, protection. Protection. Voss interrupted, her voice sharp. We've studied your protection, Commander. 17 species rule, thousands serve. Your hegemony strips worlds of resources, conscripts populations, and homogenizes cultures until nothing unique remains. Lyrax wanted to object, but centuries of military service had trained him to recognize truth, even uncomfortable truth. The hegemony's methods were effective, but rarely gentle. They're coming, you know, he said instead. The entire fleet. Silent thunder impressed me, but even your technology can't stand against thousands of warships. For the first time, Voss laughed. A genuine sound of amusement that confused Lyrax. Commander, what you've seen is just the beginning. Silent thunder isn't just a defensive system. It's a complete reimagining of how reality works. She gestured, and the laboratory walls seemed to dissolve, revealing a vast underground hangar. Lyrax's breath caught in his throat. Below them stood a vessel unlike anything in the hegemony's arsenal. It was massive, easily dwarfing the hegemony dreadnought, yet it seemed to shimmer and shift as if not fully anchored to reality. The Thunderchild, Voss said with undisguised pride. Our answer to your 10,000 ships. One vessel. Lyrax couldn't hide his skepticism. One is all we need, came a new voice. Admiral Chen entered the observation deck, his uniform bearing the simple insignia of Earth defense. Thunderchild doesn't just use silent thunder technology. It is silent thunder embodied. It exists simultaneously in multiple quantum states, making it effectively invulnerable to conventional weapons. Lyrax stared at the ship, his tactical mind racing. And its weapons. The same principles in reverse, Voss explained. It can phase portions of enemy vessels into different quantum states, effectively erasing them from our reality without destroying them. The implication struck Lyrax like a physical blow. A weapon that didn't just destroy but removed from existence itself. That's monstrous, he whispered. No, Commander, Chen said firmly. Monstrous is subjugating thousands of worlds in the name of stability. Monstrous is erasing cultures and forcing species into servitude. We developed silent thunder for one purpose, to ensure humanity's freedom. Lyrax looked between the two humans, seeing not the barbaric primitives hegemony propaganda had described, but beings of terrible intelligence and determination. They won't stop, he warned. Even if you defeat the First Fleet, the hegemony will never accept defeat. Then perhaps, Voss said quietly, the hegemony needs to be shown the true meaning of silent thunder. 20 days later, the hegemony fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. 5,842 warships, the largest armada ever assembled, prepared to teach the upstart humans their place in the galactic order. High Commander Zeth Val stood on the bridge of the new flagship, the inevitable Dominion, his expression grim. Despite his misgivings, duty demanded he lead this assault. All ships report ready, High Commander, his adjutant announced. No sign of human defenses. Zeth Val nodded, unsurprised. They're there. Advance with caution. All shields at maximum. The vast fleet moved forward in perfect formation, weapons primed, sensors straining to detect the hidden human defenses. They passed the outer planets without incident, the eerie silence only increasing Zeth Val's unease. Then, as they approached the orbit of Mars, a single vessel appeared before them. It was enormous, at least twice the size of the inevitable Dominion, and seemed to shimmer and shift, as if not fully present in normal space. No energy signatures registered on their sensors, no weapon systems were detectable, yet Zeth Val felt a primal fear grip his heart. Hegemony Fleet. A transmission reached them on all frequencies simultaneously. This is Admiral James Chen of Earth Defense Vessel Thunderchild. You have entered restricted space. You will power down and withdraw immediately, or you will cease to exist. Marshal Drawn, standing beside Zeth Val, laughed harshly. One ship against nearly 6,000. The humans are either insane or suicidal. Zethval wasn't so certain. Open a channel, he ordered. When the connection was established, he spoke with careful formality. Earth vessel, this is High Commander Zethval. The Galactic Hegemony claims this system by right of first discovery. Your defiance is noted but futile. Surrender now, and your people will be integrated with minimal disruption. There was a pause, then a different voice responded. Female, coldly precise. This is Dr. Ilara Voss, Director of Earth Defense Scientific Division. High Commander, we have monitored your Council's deliberations. We know your intentions. We have given you a chance to withdraw. There will not be another. Before Zethval could respond, Marshal Drong seized control of the communication. Enough talk. Humans, behold the might of the hegemony. All ships, open fire. 5,000 ships launched their assault simultaneously, a barrage of destructive energy that should have atomized any vessel, no matter how advanced. The human ship, Thunderchild, didn't move. It didn't raise shields. It simply remained, and the barrage passed through it as if it weren't there. Impossible, Drong breathed. Then Thunderchild began to change. It seemed to expand, not physically but in some other dimension, until it encompassed a vast sphere of space. Within that sphere, hegemony ships began to disappear, not explode, not break apart, simply cease to exist, erased from reality itself. 100 ships, 500, 1,000. Panic spread through the fleet as commanders witnessed their comrades vanishing without trace or warning. There was no defense, no countermeasure. The Thunderchild continued its inexorable expansion, consuming everything in its path. Within 30 minutes, half the hegemony fleet was gone. Zethval watched in horror as the greatest military force in galactic history crumbled before his eyes. This wasn't war as he understood it. This was something else entirely, a fundamental rewriting of the rules of existence. All ships withdraw, he ordered, his voice cracking with strain. Maximum speed. Retreat to hyperspace immediately. But it was too late for many. By the time the remnants of the fleet managed to escape, barely 1,000 ships remained, a devastating defeat unlike anything in the hegemony's 3,000-year history. As the inevitable dominion limped away, a final transmission reached them. The galactic hegemony's reign is over. Admiral Chen's voice was calm but implacable. Return to your homeworlds and prepare for a new reality. Earth will contact each member species individually. Those who wish peaceful relations will find us reasonable allies. Those who continue the hegemony's policies of domination will experience the full power of silent thunder. Zethval stood motionless, watching as the stars stretched into the familiar patterns of hyperspace. In a single day, everything had changed. The hegemony, the constant, unchanging force that had defined galactic civilization for millennia, had been humbled by a species they had dismissed as primitive. What now, High Commander? His adjutant asked quietly. Zethval turned, his expression resolute despite the disaster they had just witnessed. Now we adapt. We learn. We survive. Because one thing was clear. The silent monster from Earth had not just arrived. It had rewritten the very nature of galactic power. And the hegemony, for all its might and history, had been found wanting. The age of silent thunder had begun.